If you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. And it is for the players. It's not just a game. A game is Monopoly. A game is, you know, Scrabble. A game is, you know, any video game. This is much different. In fact, a lot of world-class players actually call it sport. And they have Olympiad every 2 years from around the world. It's quite the deal. It's huge. I wish it was bigger in this area, but we're going to try to change that.
Just a few reasons why John Cordisco started the Broome County Chess Championship nearly 4 years ago. Players got together in Binghamton to compete for a big trophy and prize at Cordisco's Chess Center on Shenango Street Saturday.
When you're playing chess on tournament day, you forget about everything else in life, and all you worry about is 32 pieces and 64 squares.
Games run through Sunday with nearly a dozen people competing this weekend. There are 2 categories, open and reserve, for players of different skill levels. Many hope championships like these will bring more people to the game.
There are now ways to play that are kind of high-tech on the internet, but it's really a very old game, and I don't know why it doesn't. I think we just need someone like Fischer to give chess a shot in the arm.
For the younger people, I think that's a great thing because they really have to think, and you know, when they're on Facebook or they're playing their video games, and it just becomes second nature, but this really makes them think.
But the event means more to Cordisco than just handing out trophies. Every year, he holds it in honor of his brother Francis, keeping his memory alive.
My youngest brother, he wasn't a chess player, he was a hockey goalie. He was a good one too, but he passed away a couple of years ago. My parents were pretty emotional when I first did it, and his 2 boys, my nephews, you know, they know about it, and they really appreciate it. It's pretty cool. It's just something that I do, you know, to honor him. It's sad in a way, but it also isn't, too, that he still carries on.
Building blocks of a tradition that means so much to so many in the Southern Tier, and one that Cordisco hopes will make chess big again. In Binghamton, Elise Micalanis.
The Grenke Chess Classic, February 2nd through February 9th, 2015. World-class tournament. World champion Magnus Carlsen is there. Also, Vishy Anand, former world champion, is there. Many other great players. Levin Aronian, great world-class player. Mickey Adams from England. Fabiano Caruana, Italian-American. Nadich, top German player. Don't miss any of the action. Hi, folks. John Cordisco here. Round 2 of the Grenke Chess Classic 2015. So many tournaments going on. Right in the middle of Gibraltar. Now we got Grenke. Wow, great stuff. Anyway, between a person that needs no introduction in the chess world, current world champion Magnus Carlsen from Norway is white, and Mickey Adams from England. I like Mickey a lot. He's such a cool guy. I mean, he's so calm, and he talks like this, and he's just so low key, and it's really great. I like Mickey, and he's a great player. I think Mickey's still in the top 20 in the world. Anyway, Carlsen is white. Adams is black. It's going to be a 4 knights English. Let's get to it. Bishop b4. Go through the opening a little bit here. Wasting time on that. Both castles and d3. Pretty typical stuff. Black light squared bishop can get out. Same with white's dark squared bishop. But interesting though, computer likes h6 for black to stop that bishop from going to g5 in that really annoying pin. Because what happens is this bishop is outside the pawn chain, can't get back here. Black decides to take the knight. Pawn takes, knight d4. Interesting. Bishop d2, just to get the bishop developed. Knight takes d4. Bishop takes, and that's what happens. But it's really close in score. It's a flip of a coin whether bishop takes or e takes. I probably play bishop takes, as I'm this anal about not having double pawns. But e takes, of course, it's Mickey Adams. I mean, how am I question him? Bishop d2. a5. e4 for Magnus. Pawn takes in passant. F takes. Queen g5. Now, according to the computer here off screen, that's the last book move. So we're on move 13, and they're still in theory. Rook f4. Interesting move there. And that's what the computer likes. The computer likes d4 as well. chase the bishop off. Bishop d7. Finally, Adams gets his last piece developed. And this is a move, now I can't show, I wish I could, the post-mortem between Mickey Adams and Magnus Carlsen. And a4 for Magnus. And Mickey thought that was a really, really interesting move, and he explained why. But unfortunately, it was shown on Chess24. I got a message from one of the individuals in Chess24. I can't show, at least for now anyway, until I can make a deal with the guy to show some of the postmortems, because they own the copyright for it. So, oh well. Well, hopefully we'll work that out. Macaulay's a pretty good guy, so he was really decent about it with me. So hopefully we can come to some kind of an agreement. But anyway, for now, we just can't see it. Rook a to e8. d4. Bishop to b6. And queen to b3. Now the computer's got this at literally dead even. 0.00. In fact, the next three suggestions for black, Queen e7, f5, and f6, all show 0.00, but Mickey does none of those. He goes queen to d8. He just puts the queen right back. It's a little passive, but it's okay. I mean, it's not the end of the world. Carlsen goes queen c4, rook e7. Looks like Mickey's going to double up on the e file. b4, a takes, a5, hit the bishop, causing the bishop to go back, and then takes with the queen, threatening the b7 pawn. Half point advantage for white. I think Mickey's just back on his heels, and he just seems cramped up. We're going to have to see what happens with this pawn here. He needs to advance him as soon as he can. And this pawn is backwards as well. It's really tough. These two pawns here are holding back those pawns, and that's why he's so cramped down. c5 finally gets a break. Bishop takes. Queen b3. Okay. I think Mickey's a little better here. He's not better in the game. It's about a half point advantage for white, but he's better than he was 4 moves ago. Bishop takes g2. King takes. Queen d7. Okay. That's fine. It guards the pawn. And at the same time, gets the queen off the back rank. Looks like Mickey still wants to double up on the e file. Magnus decides to double up on the f file. Small advantage for white, about a third of a pawn. Rook c8, of course. Mickey moved the queen to grab some of the c file. Now this is an interesting move from Magnus. Computer likes queen to d5. Put that queen right in the center of the board. Or move the rook from f4 to f2. Or bishop b4. Magnus does none of those. He goes rook f5. What's he trying to go after? Maybe I'm thinking the rook comes over here. Eventually go after that. I'm not really sure what he's thinking of. h6. Rook comes up. Interesting. I went over this game earlier, and I just can't. This is why these guys are world-class players and I'm not. I don't have a clue what's going on. That's okay. Bishop f8. He's going to get the bishop back in the game. Wanted to guard this pawn, I think, and eventually move him up. Finally, the bishop can get back in the game. Oops, sorry for the crooked arrow. Bishop b4, hitting the pawn and pinning it. So he goes queen check. The rook at f2 comes back. Now here's a chance for Mickey to trade queens, but I really don't think that's in his best interest. He fairly gets the rooks on the second rank. And Magnus does a typical Magnus move. Bishop b1. Can eventually bring the bishop over here. So if the queen invades and this queen has to move, this king is really secure. Queen e8. Mickey's playing too passive again. And he's a great player, and I really like Mickey a lot. But you're going to play Magnus, you got to go after him. Queen e8. G4. Interesting move there. Rook b5. The computer likes. Well, I think it was originally Magnus's plan to go after the b7 pawn. Now if you go rook to b5, the threat is here. Because if a pawn takes, you lose the bishop. G4. I'll tell you, this is way too subtle and over my head. Maybe some of you can figure out the moves here. Rook e4, h3. Okay. Pick up some space on the king side. That's fine. Rook comes over. Now, granted, the rook on e4 is on a late square, so it can't be harassed by the bishop. He's trying to really put a lot of pressure on the e3 pawn. At least he's going after something here. He's not just sitting back, and of course the bishop goes to f2 to guard the king and the pawn. Rook comes back. Rook to b5. Here we go. Bishop c7. Rook takes. And now, I don't know why Mickey does this. It's the second choice in the computer. The first choice, of course, is bishop takes a5, takes the pawn, which was the whole point. And the rook will have to move to b8, but you could always block with the bishop, bring the bishop back to d8, so you're okay with that. He decides to go queen to a8, and boy, I'll tell you, the points are going up for Magnus. It's almost a 2-point advantage now. If bishop had taken rook, bishop d8, it would have sucked a little bit for black, but he's really okay. But after queen to a8, rook comes back, rook to e8, trying to cover that back rank so we can move the bishop. Queen to d5 for Magnus. I don't know, boy, it gets complicated, these double rook queen endings. And should he trade or not trade? I think it's his best interest to trade. He's down a pawn. Rook to b8. Bishop g3. Hitting that pawn on d6. Can Mickey hold out or draw this? Less than a pawn advantage for Carlsen at this point. Computer likes rook to b1, g6. Mickey goes g6. Get a little help to get his king out of there. Plus, it holds some key squares to be sure. Here and here. h4. He wants to go g5. Carlsen does. And after rook a8, hitting that pawn again, bishop e1. What to do, what to do? Unfortunately, that pawn's being guarded twice. So he's kind of stuck for now. Rook e4, g5. Computer likes rook g4 check for black. And then king to h2, and then h takes. But he pushed the pawn up. Rook to b5. Rook to a7. And it's just not working out for Mickey. It's just not, the pieces aren't really coordinated that well. King to f1. Magnus comes around with the king. Rook e8. Finally gets the other rook. King e2. You're starting to bring the king up. Now he's tripling up on the pawn. Rook f6. Now, of course, he can't do his plan about bishop takes. He'll end up losing this pawn. So he's got to go rook to a6. And now he's just playing defensively. And once you get your pieces set where you can't move them, it's almost Zunzwang in a weird sense. Bishop b4, hitting the pawn again. Finally he takes. Rook takes, rook takes, bishop takes, rook takes, rook takes. All right, Magnus is still up a pawn. Point and a quarter advantage now. Point and a half for Carlsen. But these rook pawn endings are murderous. That game with Nakamura against Howell I showed a couple of days ago will tell you that. King f8. Now the kings start coming up. Rook f6. Rook a2 check is the computer's choice. King e7. Mickey goes rook a3. Not very accurate, I'm afraid. King F3, the king comes up. King E7, and slowly now Carlsen's going to turn the screws. King E4, Rook A5, stopping the king from advancing up. But that's fine. He just goes Rook F4, Rook B5, D5, and slowly Carlsen marches down the board. Rook B3, hitting the pawn so the king can't move up. But he just goes over. Rook A3, E4, slowly turning the screws. Rook, king comes up. Rook D3. It's almost a 3-point advantage now, and poor Mickey. Rook F1. Rook H3. Rook A1. Let him have the pawn. Rook takes. D6 check. King D7. Rook checks, forcing the king back. Rook checks again. King's got to come up. And now the rook comes over. And that's where Mickey Adams, great world-class player from England, resigns. Give you an idea, after King 6, Rook takes, and it's demolished time. Absolute demolished time. Oh well. So that's a game from round 2, the Grenke Classic. I didn't show any games from round 1 because they were all draws, and the other games from this round were all draws as well. Even though one was a fairly decent fighting draw, this was the only decisive game so far in 2 rounds. So I thought I'd show it, and if I get some other decent games from this tourney at the same time I'm going on with the Gibraltar Classic, I'm going to be doing a lot of videos. Boy, I'll tell you, I wish I could find the time. But anyway, that's one of the games from the Grenke Classic 2015. Hope you enjoyed it. 2 world-class players battling it out. And as I always say, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.
Cordisco's Corner Store is hosting its 5th annual chess championship. The Broome County Chess Championship Francis Cordisco Memorial got started over the weekend. Organizer John Cordisco says it's an opportunity for chess fans, both experts and newcomers, to test their level of skill. There are 2 sections depending on level of play, and both have cash prizes for the top 3 winners.
We draw some really good players. There's some pretty good players in this county, and it's a very high quality chess compared to the number of people in the area. It's a great tournament, and I encourage people to come down and just to watch if they want.
The second and final round is this Sunday from 10 until 4, and it takes place at Cordisco's Corner Store at 308 Shenango Street in Binghamton.